I don't.
He streams
I
daily.
still don't do TikTok. I cannot.
You have to, bro. Is that not you on TikTok? NOTA's wisdom.
No.
Guys, go to TikTok right now. Go check NOTA's wisdom. I thought it was you posting there.
NOTA's wisdom was suspended, but they brought it back. It's
How do you know?
The return of NOTA.
They
I
want
know.
How do you know? Because it stopped posting when you were inside.
It didn't.
And then ever since you've been outside, it's been posting.
Is he out of prison? Oh, NOTA's out of prison.
Yeah. That's Emtee.
Should have kept him in there long. Safa as a nation.
Yeah, that's it. Why would I post that if it's me?
Ha. Did he just say Builinja? Ah, come on, Emtee.
There were 70 of us in our cell, 22 beds, which means 48 people don't have a bed. KO sent me to prison. That's what happened.
But how though?
These guys actually tried to have me killed. It was a real thing. When I was in the States, I was on a run for my life because these guys were trying to have me killed. I could not come back to South Africa until I had a guarantee that people involved in Keenan's murder were arrested. I say something 2 years ago. When the trial starts, everything that I said, everything that's in the live videos and everything, when people said I was crazy, when I was sent to a mental institution, you sent me to a mental institution, yet guys with guns pick me up, take me to a mental institution, lock me behind a steel door, medicate me, try to drug me with schizophrenia medication.
Getting straight in in 2025, February is around the corner. Varsities are about to open. We've got some opportunities for all you potential property investors. We've got a group investment opportunity with Ekasi Noble Property Development. Click the link in the description. It'll take you to their Facebook platform. Look at the group investment scheme opportunities that we have there. 150,000 rands once off. You get grouped with other property investors. You immediately own 8 properties that you guys can rent out for a rental income. That is if you can't afford to get your own bond all by yourself. We can group you with other potential property investors. He's back, he's out, and I'm excited to see him. I haven't seen him in quite some time.
I'm trying to do it without nails.
I just finished my fast. I just finished a 21-day fast.
21 days. No,
yeah, so yeah, we are here. We are here.
Clean. No. Happy New Year compliments.
21-day fast with no sugar. Compliments to you. Do
Yeah.
you still say compliments?
Well, I haven't seen you this year.
Yeah, I haven't seen you this year too.
So
No, I
therefore-
haven't. Oh, I haven't.
No, not
I
this
haven't.
year.
Yeah.
Not
I
this
last saw
year.
you last year.
Yeah, in November, the day I was released.
Yeah.
Well, the day I was laid out on parole.
Yeah, then
Mara sengitolile manje.
welcome back.
Ukutola.
So the case is done.
Well, the sentence is done. That's
The sentence is
yeah,
done.
that's it.
So you've served your time.
Yeah, I served my time.
So did you have to serve the rest of it outside?
Yeah.
Okay.
So parole is until your sentence is over.
What could you do and what couldn't you do? And when you're saying you had to serve it outside, do you mean like was it house arrest at your house? If you were supposed to be let out, what days? What were your conditions?
Yeah. I was allowed out of my house between 6 a.m. and 2 p.m. Monday to Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday and Saturday. No, Thursday and Friday was full house arrest, and then Saturdays I was allowed out until 6 p.m., 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and then Sundays was full house arrest, and then public holidays, full house arrest.
Okay.
And then they came to visit me like every other day. Like on New Year's Day, or 8 exen. Go. Manguvusa ngo 8 exen, yes. Ufuna ukucheck ukuthi ayanga go countdown le. Ngiyamangala ukuthi
Like this is
ngo
da.
8 exen like ubani umakhelwane maybe uzikhile ngaphandle or something ufuna yabona ufuna ingena indlela yokungena kwakhe or something like that. No, kanti no, it's my parole officer, Miss Keswa. So yeah, that was it, and yeah, I guess it was an experience and a half.
You're glowing.
Yeah,
I can see your complexion also.
Yeah, also the first couple of weeks in J of the year, or the last 2 weeks of this year, of 2024 of last year, and the first week of this year was raining. So staying indoors, avoiding the sun, and plus, using sunscreen, like my mother says I must, protecting myself from sunburn, because I did get sunburnt on one day where I was swimming. But yeah, man, I'm glad to be out and enjoying myself. It just sucks that, one has to pay for electricity now, like
So-
ngaphakathi mfana amanzi ayashisa, akunakulayita igiza ekuseni ngo-5, uvuka ekuseni ngo-5 ulayita igiza, wenze sure ukuthi by 6 uyayicima, uthatha ishower. There's none of that, you know what I mean? Uyagawula kahle kamnandi, at least unomdoko ekuseni, banishaye nge-lunch nyana, all those things. Manje mele uzithengele igroza, mele uye Pick n Pay, mele uye Woolies. Yeah, it has its perks, not having responsibilities, but I was encouraged by a lot of the support that I got. I mean, I didn't have a weekend without visitors. Every weekend, even you came through. A lot of people came through. I even managed to speak to Jub Jub while I was inside. He was also checking up on me, making sure I'm good as well. And some of his homies that are still inside, that are still serving out the rest of their sentences, were like, Jub, ute sick bag. So shout out to him for that as well. And yeah, man, I learned so much.
amajito ofuna ukwagrunta ngaphakathi.
Faro, inja yami, Mandrizer, Dumisani, obviously, Rutman Lamu Jomo.
Danko Mchomani. Ta.
Also the wardens, Abu Fader, nabo bebasiphethe kahle.
Ngababiza ngamagama bagrunta.
Yo, baning Abu Fader bakhona.
I'm sure they're going to enjoy this episode.
Yeah.
Show them some love.
Umiswane, Umuzi. Muzi is the guy that I arrived at. Long bolegi sheet. Khona munye ufare nje mangena nje uthi hawu wena sone sheet, ngithi hayi no bangibolekile. Oh bowuleliphi? Hayi no ngiboleka omunye sheet lami ukuthi alale naye wangiboleka futhi sheet uthi nami ngilale. And then uKhumalo naye like besishare iskafula, so I was sleeping on top of Ubab Khumalo. So many. Champ, Prince Masiela. Who else? Usalaiva, Injayami. He's one of the cookers. Who else? Baningi. Utsepo, ubani futhi, ihosi yamashangani. There were so many. Besi 70 in my cell. So yeah, there was a lot of us. Also, another shout out to someone who wasn't in my cell or in my block, but he was in another block, but he looked after me. He made sure I was well taken care of. Even gave me a farewell last meal. Got me chicken licking. Chef Caesar Henna as well. He's been in there for like 6 months. He owned a restaurant called Black. I don't know if you know him.
Oh, that's Sizo Hannah, the brother was married to Usispone.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I heard about his case a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, he got sentenced,
Yeah, I remember.
So
how well is he doing? Is he good?
He's doing good, man.
Oh, that's nice.
He's
Hold
staying
on,
strong.
put Danko put.
He's staying strong.
Yeah.
obviously he's got young kids, which is unfortunate. His kids haven't even started primary school yet. And so that's a bit of a situation, to have their father away. He's got a business that's, supports people, that has to be on pause, and he has to rely on other people to keep the business going. Sure. Who else am I forgetting? Who else am I forgetting? Umchomane.
Umjomane uyazinja yami.
Yeah.
Danko Mjomane for ukunakekela intwana. Danko siyabonga.
Yeah.
Siyabonga.
Sure. There's so many people. There's also Ekasi Pro, who I also met there. He's been in there for a long time. He was also serving life. So, but he's coming out in a couple of years. Another guy that I met on my way out, Tibz Mokoena, not Tapelo Mokoena, Tibz Mokoena. Yeah.
We also thank Umdu Sibia.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah, bekahlanganisa besiza sizokubona sisonke.
Exactly.
Sure.
So Nabomo father said I must thank him as well.
And your folks, man.
Yeah, no, my parents.
I got a chance to interact closely with your folks.
Yeah.
You've got really cool parents, bro.
No, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Cool parents,
yeah, my
bro.
parents are, they're part of this life, I guess, that I chose. So they understand it, you know what I mean, very well. So they understand my space. My dad used to take me to things like take me to your radio show. Like before school.
I remember because that's the first time I met him.
Yeah.
He brought you when you were still a teenager. He brought you to my YFM radio show.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was in my 20s at the time. You were a teen.
Yeah, I was still in high school.
Yeah, you were still in high school. Guys, I've known NOTA for many years. For I think 20 years.
Yeah.
Almost 20 years, right?
Maybe let's say 23, maybe 22.
Yeah. NOTA was one of those smartest kids from the north that put together gigs, and they'd invite the famous DJ Smooths at the time, and who had YFM at the time.
Yeah.
And other kids just couldn't understand how could this kid pull it off.
Yeah.
He would have Abu Dalez. He would have remember what was that band? Josie. He would have all these celebrities.
Abu JR.
Oh man.
And
he would frequent YFM as this little kid.
I also used to frequent what's that, Zambezi Lounge.
Yeah, I remember Zambezi Lounge.
That's where I used to network. I was still in high school. I used to go to Zambezi Lounge on Thursday nights to network, because Oskido's homies would all be there, and he was still running the spot at the time, and the food was really good at Zambezi. In fact, the food was some of the best food that was served at any place or any restaurant. So I used to go there for networking purposes, meet up with the who's who of the industry. Abo Tibo touched now, they put us on Rhyme and Reason while we were still in high school with my homies and the crew that they were running with as well. Abo Brick City. There was also the Midrand guys and Kyalami guys and Woodmead guys, the major leagues. They used to run a crew called The Movement in Midrand back in the days, there's also Abo Bro Bean Studio Offense.
Yeah, Abo Offense have done really well. Shout out to Bro Beans, man.
No
offense. They've got studios in Bryanston.
Yeah.
And they shoot incredible visuals.
So
man.
He's also part of that Brick City collective.
They shoot also with Lasizo for that awkward date.
Yeah.
Their visuals, their production is actually amazing.
Yeah. So he's been growing into that production space. It's like I guess we're
Tebukho uprooted media.
Yeah, Tibz.
Live. Hola Tibz.
Yeah. So Tibz nabo sabatole after, and we started giving them music videos to shoot or giving them small jobs, DOP, or whatever jobs we could put them on. Even Offense Mwase, he used to do a lot of the editing at the time because he was working in television commercials. And then I think the first music video that he actually shot was Ranjozi. So he's also an after guy. Brendan Barnes, Bugsy, the drummer of Crash Car Burn, he's also a DOP. So, those are the guys that I was growing up with. It's like PayPal Mafia.
Ezasenorth.
Yeah.
Intwana zasenorth bezizibona. Yo thina phela besiphuma elokishini. Sileza amapantsula. Even from the days of the club, Small Street and Carlton. I sometimes hear Sylvester on Skim GP's podcast. Shout outs to Skim GP. That's a dope podcast.
Yeah.
I love the lane that he's just carved for himself. And no kamachiti chance with Bazringel, You learn quite a lot through that platform. Anyway, Abo Sylvester kate banokupayizisa amachita strong lapha in Carlton. Bekanga ubambo Sylvester. Abo Sylvester used to be in and out of okay. Let me not get into that that rabbit hole. We'll visit it another day. But let's keep this rabbit hole of the North Boys.
Yeah, the North Boys.
You guys. Jose has always been like this. I don't know now, but I still feel like it still has got like the North kids. No intwana zethu. Because as the middle class, no, mina time phela.
Oh yeah.
My firstborn would likely to be
no,
20 years old. Yeah.
No,
that's what I mean.
North.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Because the middle class, as it keeps growing, it produces a lot of middle class kids. Some of them are spoiled. Some of them feel entitled. Some of them, they are amazing kids. Some of them are sharp. But they're all just growing up together and creating their own memories right now in this era. But what I'm saying is that you guys were that generation of the North Boys.
Yeah, the first.
Intwana zaseJozi zasemasababsini.
Yeah, Tina Swiga 91. In terms of my dad acquiring the land where our family home is. So he got that in 91 and then...
And you guys were exposed because Boplomani Intwana is rich.
Yeah. In fact, all the black kids that I knew, their mothers were working in the homes where they were staying. So, I was like probably the only when we moved. I mean, when we moved to Olivedale, I remember like we were the only black family that actually lived in a house. Although there were black people around, people doing gardens, people doing domestic work, and their kids were around, and their kids were also going to the same schools around us. The first school I went to was Sharon Lee Primary. I know there's a whole lot of people that went there. I went to Sharon Lee Primary when the principal was Mr. Cap, and before he left, and he had his farewell towards the end of the year, and then Mrs. Harold then took over as the principal there. And I remember the distinct thing about that year is that the number plates were changing that year. That was 1997. I remember my dad telling me about the provinces, that Transvaal is now Gauteng, and our number plate is going to change from T to GP. So, a whole lot was changing. Rugby World Cup, I remember it like it was yesterday, watching that on the TV at home, and how the entire neighborhood practically exploded after that. And, we got to see who was who. The 94 elections as well. I was actually talking about it with my dad. Just yesterday, I was with my dad. I was dropping him off because he left his car somewhere in Bryanston. And, my mother, just my dad is always around. My mother went to have some free time.
Fully busy,
yeah, my mother just wants to have free time. Itamalam is like always, Jay. Where's my mother? Because Itamalam naruli because you can go with him and then Mauzula cool, he starts complaining and you're like, but like, why did you ask?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So he already... she's like, because you're around, drop off your dad. He needs to pick up his car. So we drove past our old house where we used to stay at number 3 Carroll Avenue, which is opposite the Burger King and Cecil Garage in Olivedale, right between the border between Olivedale and Bryanston. So it's like Carroll Avenue, and then I forgot what this road is. Amsterdam, and then Jacaranda.
Yes, I know that area very well.
Yeah. So
I bought my first property was there.
yeah,
A 3-bedroomed apartment
yeah.
there in North Riding, just around Olivedale there. I know that area very, very well.
Yeah,
So.
so my uncle was arrested, and he was in prison, and then at Loikop, and they took him. My uncle Malum Zugile, the late Malum Zugile, he died in 1995, I think. He was shot and killed during a jewelry store robbery, and what happened is that he was robbing this other Chinaman, or they were robbing this other Chinaman's jewelry store. And it was one of the last robberies that he was trying to do, because obviously they'd lived a life of crime, Zabalaza, as a family, so my uncles had to be involved somehow to help each other, So he was robbing this Chinese man's jewelry store, not knowing that he's got a gun in the safe. So while he's standing there over the safe, making the Chinaman open the safe, the Chinaman then pulled out a gun and shot him twice in the head. So Umalum Zugile, he used to take me around, take me to Abu Rancho, and he escaped from Olivedale Clinic back in the day. He I don't know what he did, but he said he was sick, and then they took him to Olivedale Clinic, and then the cop went to the toilet, and then he escaped from Olivedale. So those were my rounds, because it's being brought to my mind that Usizo Lomo was tweeting, it feels so good to drive on the streets where you grew up. And I just thought to myself, I'm always driving on the streets where I grew up. I haven't gone far. You know what I mean? It's like my parents are down the road. My family, my memories are everywhere. You know what I mean? We've been in the north since before. When did Monte Cassino get completed? I think about 2001 or something like that. You know what I mean? Even the Witkoppen and Winnie Mandela intersection, it used to be a 4-way stop. And then it became traffic
Before
lights.
it became that bridge there.
You understand?
Next to 4 is crossing and 4 is more.
So...
I know that area well. I used to stay in Dainfern.
Yeah.
Early days, black people were not as rich as, a lot of black people in that area right now were not as rich as they are now. I used to see
Eskom City, by the way.
I used to see all these expensive cars. And then I would see like Rolls Royces, Bentleys, Porsches. I would see Ngebs 1, Ngebs 2, Ngebs 3, Ngebs 4. And then I would see like Ngebs 11.
Yeah.
I would see like different times, different.
Now
And then I used to be like, who is this in Ngebs?
Now we go to Umtata and sleep at BT Ngebs.
You know?
And shop
many years
at
later now,
at the Ngebs mall, and then we cut our hair.
Bro. And it's like you gotta respect old money, and you gotta respect people who've grinded it out from the bottom, from the beginning.
Yeah.
But for me, I mean, ever since I've seen and known that name in the early 2000s, from when I started getting money, Ngintwana, already Mr. Usisa Ngeblana had already been getting money. And he had already been one of the first black people to stay in Dainfern.
Yeah.
And I was one of the first young black people to stay in the area as well. But it was quite fascinating to see a few black people who were making it happen out of entrepreneurship. So for me,
about Chris Galakis, the late Chris Galakis.
Chris Galakis was in the entertainment industry.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying you were staying in his hood then.
Oh yeah.
Which means you moved into his hood.
And that's the thing. Also, staying in a wealthy area.
Yeah.
Even though you're not on their level, but just somehow being around there, it helps you. It helps also reconfigure your belief system. Well, not in terms of religion, but in terms of what's possible. Because you're exposed to all these wealthy people around. People are playing golf. You're seeing all these expensive cars. You're going down to the clubhouse. You're meeting their kids. You're just in those circles.
Even if you're just a waiter.
It's
Even
sort
if
of
you're a cleaner.
It's inevitable at some point. If you're a hustler over a long period of time, you're gonna be wealthy too.
Yes,
You know what
exactly. I mean, the lessons are passed on. So, for some of us who grew up with that privilege surrounding us, it changed us. Some of us became like elitist, classist, saw ourselves as better. And for me, I'm just glad that the way my parents raised me, to be humble and to not see myself as different. And they did that in innocuous ways, but now I see that they did that deliberately. So they'd always bring in our cousins from the rural areas to come stay with us. You know what I mean? So our house, it was never just me and my siblings. We always knew that there's a revolving door of our cousins from Limpopo. Some of them who don't even know how to speak English, who went to schools that are substandard, where they didn't have desks or anything, who studied under trees, who were born under trees, like my dad, he was born under a tree, Not that it's a bad thing, but, they just didn't have a hospital when my dad was being born, so he ended up being born under a tree. And seeing the brilliance of my cousins. My cousins that are from the rural areas, they're engineers, metallurgists, mechanical engineers. I mean, my cousin was a mechanical engineer when he finished at TNG. He was top 2 students in South Africa in that year. We even went to a gala dinner for him where he got his prize as being the top 2 mechanical engineering student in South Africa that year at SAIMECI, which is the South African Institute of Mechanical Engineering. There's civil engineers, there's, doctors, optometrists, dentists. All of these cousins of mine had to come to Jersey and, come get an education and also educate us, ground us, teach us. And, that's something that I feel like a lot of North kids are missing, today. They don't have that dichotomy, and they don't know how to live both lives. They don't know how to be people, like just I'm out a sharp. So I'm very lucky that my parents instilled that in us and were very strict. My parents were very strict, like on that. It's just simple things like TV. You know what I mean? If my older cousin is now in the house, he's like, yo, umdala lo. So he holds the remote. You'll watch what he wants to watch. It's like, damn, this dude doesn't even know Discovery Channel. He doesn't want to watch Discovery Channel. He wants to watch SABC the whole day. You understand? He knows hippos, dog. He knows the big 5. He knows it live. He doesn't want to watch it on Discovery Channel. Now we want to watch Discovery Channel. You know what I mean? So things like that humbled us as well. Even my cousins from the Eastern Cape, because, I come from one of those fortunate families where we're mixed in our heritage, and therefore our family tree, its roots spread all across the country. From Da'a, where my great-grandfather worked in the railways, and that was one of the big railway centers, the central railway stations back in the day, to the ones that are in Queenstown. So my family went to Queenstown. Now, this holiday, so each year we'd interchange. This year we go to holiday at my dad's ancestral home and his home where he grew up, and where he was born in Limpopo and Zanin. And then on the other year, we'd go to my mother's grandparents' home, because my mother and my grandmother were born in Jozi in Bara, so they're Sowetans. But my mother's family is from Queenstown. Well, not Queenstown is the most popular town there, but they're actually from Eeu, which is between Queenstown and Vetlis or Whittlesea, but closer to Whittlesea. My great uncles as well, Eromanslachta, and then my cousin came back from the mountain. My cousin, I don't know if I told you about my cousin, who's a goalkeeper for Kaizer Chiefs.
No.
Buntle Molefe. Yeah, he's still a young guy. He's played for Amajita as well. And he just came back from the mountain. And so they were doing Umgidwake in the Eastern Cape as well, in Sterkspruit. Ekasi like Chris Excel. That's how I know Chris Excel. I'm not Chris Excel. I'm not from Stark Street. But yeah, so he was doing umkituake. So my family had a nice gathering there as well. My sister cooked and also brought amakeke, scones, you know. So it was my first time seeing my sister this year as well. And us as North kids, like between my sister can cook, like properly, like for a whole entire family. She can wash dishes, like, you know what I mean. She's not a North kid who's just gonna sit msebenzi and everything else. You know what I mean? My sister was there. She was working. She was serving people. And in my family, what we do is that even if unomsebenzi, what we do is that we feed the children first as well. So the line for the children is the front of the line so that all the kids get their plates, you know, and then they don't bother their parents. They eat, and then we make sure, you know, the kids have eaten. And then our jobs as the cousins is to make sure that our cousins' kids have eaten. Like, if you see a kid that doesn't have a plate or that doesn't have food, it's like, hey, when make sure that the kid is eating, make sure that everyone's kids are eating. So I got to be with my family and feel that love, and we're one big happy family. And we've all lived different types of lives, but what binds us together is the common humanity that we were taught as part of our essential family values and our essential family structure. So, you know, when you speak about North kids, yes, I'm a North kid because I grew up in the North. That's my hood. But in terms of what people assume North kids to be, you know, I'm not the archetypal archetypical typical North kid, North boy. I still have, you know, strong family values. I still, you know, have Soweto grandmothers, you know, who'd say, "Hey, sukumsha," you know, which means don't speak English too much. And I think that has helped me in just being a person that can fit in everywhere. I mean, you came to visit me inside, and you saw how all the other prisoners were treating me. You know what I mean? They didn't treat me as if I'm some sort of celebrity or anything else, but they treated me like me out, you know. And that's also because of the way I treated them as well. And just that mutual respect and that cooperation and that camaraderie that was fostered within that environment. And yeah, I don't think the North kids of today would survive in environments like that because, you know, they're a little bit too snooty. And I think that's also because of like the newcomers to the North. Nina, so you're different because at least you've also kept rooted, but that's a deliberate thing.
I
on
arrived
your
at the
side.
North in 2000.
Yeah, so figure much.
That's 25 years ago.
Yeah, figure much. In the 2000s,
Sure.
See, now, we were in the North during apartheid.
Yeah.
Yeah, before Mandela was president, before the GNU.
Yeah.
So the type of parenting that your generation has in the North is a little bit softer, and also it's I guess it's a trauma response. You want to remove your children from all the misgivings of the poverty that you come from in that township community where you were born and raised. You know what I mean? You don't want them to be exposed, but at the same time, you then you give them arrogance instead of self-esteem. You give them a false confidence instead of a rootedness, you know, in their own identity, because you create a bubble for them. You know what I mean? And this is not talking about you specifically, but I'm just saying the type of parenting that we're seeing. And that's why there's a stigma about North kids. And I know it, you know what I mean? And it hurts me because, like, you know, I'm like, me, I call myself the North Goat, you know, because obviously there's one North God. so I couldn't be that. But, you know, as the North Goat, it's like, it hurts me to see what's becoming of a lot of these North kids because I'd want them to have the same or similar values that I was taught. You know what I mean? Which is, even though we are surrounded by privilege, we should not forget Ubuntu, and we shouldn't Americanize ourselves. I remember that a lot of the parents that moved into the North, especially in the early 90s, so you're talking about Boma 93, 94, 95, 96, were in exile in America. The North God, itamala ke belspana what you call belspana IPM, and then Labizwa, Ekasi, and then he was part of the team that invented Pay As You Go. So if you got prepaid airtime on your phone, know that it's a South African invention, and the North God's father, Les Mampesinya, was part of the team that actually developed prepaid airtime.
I thought Dalez's father was a politician. For some reason, I thought he was in the ANC.
Well, I guess he might have had ties, but he was an IT guy.
Okay.
He worked at IBM.
I didn't know. Okay.
He worked at IBM, and so that's why he was brought in when they were developing mobile telephone networks, which is now known as MTN.
Yeah.
And they're the inventors of Pay As You Go.
When Dr. Motlana was still alive. Tamalaka Wandi Motlana.
So
rest in peace, Wandi.
So, having access to people like that, people who are part of innovations that are world firsts, you then identify yourself as someone who can also produce world firsts. And also knowing that these people come from humble beginnings, just like you.
Sorry, my mind, I just started, my mind just started thinking about NAFCOG. I started thinking about back in the days when Patrice was still president of NAFCOG. I started thinking about Uncle Amataimer with Neil. Amataimer who became really very successful black business people, which was black excellence then.
Yeah. The first Black Diamonds.
Abo Itamalga Sis Puti Mahanyele. Abo Dr. Mahanyele. You remember he had sorghum breweries. And
now they're trying to kill sorghum, by the way.
Like those were the early day black people with money, bro. Like real money, bro.
Pocomo's not making Maltabella. And Maltabella, that's what I was having for breakfast and porridge.
Bokomo.
Bokomo, yeah.
And then they called it Bokomo Bakery.
Yeah, so they're trying to kill our sorghum, and now they're importing corn, GMO corn, from the United States, which is bad for us. We shouldn't actually be eating white maize. We shouldn't be eating pap. We should be eating sorghum, which is our own. Amabele, that's good for us. It's healthy. It's good for your gut health as well. So when you say all those names as well, you think about the type of industries that black people were involved in back in the day that were aligned to, the history of our subsistence farming, our, small-scale agriculture, and how, commercial farming has basically killed that off. So when you go back Lalin today, there's no more farming to the extent as it was back in the days, in the 90s when I was a kid. They don't grow their own food anymore. When we go home to Zanin, we go past Zanin town to buy Milli Meal and buy all these things which we never used to buy in the past because they were grown and ground and milled and processed in our homes. Moba, sugarcane. Like, you just think about that. Like Ekasi, they'd be on certain days of the week, they'd be Abu Mama walking around with sugarcane, on top of their heads. Even on the side of the roads these days, umbila, that is grilled, is not as common as it used to be. All those things that we now don't have make it very difficult for this current generation of North kids to still be in touch with their roots, to resist the Americanization that is pushed on us by our media. I mean, if you look at the original logo of Mnet, right, it looks almost exactly the same as the old NBC logo. So you can see that Mnet, that whole entire concept, was sort of copied from America and then brought to South Africa. and some of the cultures that we've learned through the sitcoms that we grew up with, are still persisting today. And even if you look at the old sitcoms, I mean, my favorite show growing up was Family Matters with Steve Urkel. I forgot his name. Was it Alphonse Thomas? or
That
something?
is Steve Urkel. I
Yeah.
just watched his recent interview.
Yeah.
He's actually a dope gentleman, eh?
Well, I mean, that's
Really,
the type
really, really dope dude. He played a nerd.
Yes. So that's why I identified with him. You know what I mean? Even me, wanting to be a nerd is because of him. You know what I mean? I wanted to be Steve Urkel. As a
Yo, I wanted to be the Kunene brothers. I wanted to be calling Grootman Belnenyuga chose to Marco.
kid.
I wanted to be Abo Pra Ntatemzi Kumalo.
Yeah.
I wanted to be Abo Ntate Richard Maponya, may soul rest in peace. I wanted to be like Itamalga Opatuba. I tell you,
Yeah.
I own a chicken licken.
Yeah.
Kentucky, I think, yeah. I wanted to be Ubabu Mteto, Ubabu Mguni, I own a shop Ekasi. I wanted to be Ubabu Shebo.
Yeah.
Katava ngeponi katelpa isinyama kanje namathumbu.
Yeah. Jaleel White, sorry.
Yeah, Jaleel White.
Yeah.
No, my memory is just running about the earliest days of black success representation according to how I saw black success and black excellence then. So as we're talking about North Kids, me in my mind, I was just fascinated by all these successful black families, successful black people.
So you saw those on SABC, right? On
A
TV.
lot of them are not even on television. I mean, those who were on television, I would say, I was not necessarily looking at the actors, but I was looking at Ntate Vundla behind the scenes, who owned Generations,
Yeah.
whom the Generation story was apparently a story of the people that
his
started
brother,
the first
Peter
black-owned
Vundla,
advertising
Head Boys.
agency, Head Boys, which was based in Sunning Hill, right? And his
Itama
brother...
Ubaba Zalaga JR.
So for me, all those earliest black families, some of them on TV, some of them were not on TV. But for me, those were my like heroes. For me, I would say those were my first childhood memories of what an entrepreneur or a real businessman, black businessman should look like.
Yeah, for me it was Tate Kenny, my dad's friend, Kenny Sipai, owned Kenny's Bricks. So obviously my dad was in construction. You know,
Sesikhuluma ngezinja manje. Ezingasoze zabuna.
I forgot the time I only Star Butcher. Because even though we were living in the north, my dad would always go to Soweto to go to Star Butcher. And another one of my dad's friend, Ntate Don Kwena, the late Don Kwena, who owned a Rockville scrapyard. Then back in the day, and his wife, my mom's friend Osma Shadi, they used to go to Morula San to gamble on the weekends,
when Morula San was Morula San. Yeah. Next to Odi Stadium.
You understand? So you understand? So yeah, we must share at the kids gaming.
Before there
area,
was even
Morula
Carousel,
San.
guys, there was Morula
Listen,
San.
yeah. And then we started moving to Carousel afterwards. But Carousel was like, it was very whitish, you know what I mean? So it was, I guess, when we used to go to Carousel, we used to stay at Varambat, Aventura. Aventura.
Yeah, no, Aventura.
The resort. So I'm just reminiscing about those days as a North kid, because Ntate Don Kwena, he built a double story in Johannesburg North, which is the neighborhood right next to ours, and he was a Ekasi entrepreneur, I guess. You know what I mean? He also had his own troubles because of, our history was very criminalized. The ways in which one needed to be innovative to survive were outlawed at the time. But they were the only ways that we could survive. They were the only ways that we could fund the struggle, for those that were inclined to do that. And so the pain of our past was still very fresh. The wounds were still very fresh. And that's why the first generation of North kids weren't as aloof as what we are seeing now. You know, today we've got little rugrats that can't even see. You know, umntana na 2 years marufaka like ufaka ezinye ibuku deck so. You know, because they're on their phones, they're on their iPads, they're being corrupted by this demonic thing, Coco Melon. You know, you know, mommy finger, where are you? Here I am. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I was with my nieces and nephews, so like all the things that they sing and they learn from Coco Melon. Tina, we used to learn from Mama. We used to tell stories on Kidio. Sakula, Tina.
Molly Metronome.
No, not the white lady.
Oh,
that's
okay.
with the Mr. Chinwag.
Mama Gcina Mhlophe.
Yes. You know, she used to sit around, and then there was that song with the drum. Na 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 na. I forgot the lyrics of it. Na 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 na. And then she'd tell stories and stuff like that. So we grew up with that sort of indoctrination as kids. So my grandmother was in Limpopo in Zanin, so she couldn't do that. But when I was watching SABC One, it was like my grandmother was there to tell me old folklore stories. Now the kids of today are growing up on Coco Melon, you know, which has got nothing to do with our culture, nothing to do with our history, and it becomes increasingly difficult for the parents to keep their kids rooted. So as much as I'm critical,
but sometimes it's better than growing up on Pumpkin Patch, mfana.
Pumpkin Patch, oh Pumpkin Patch, let's
go play with Pumpkin
well,
Patch.
I mean, I guess there was that on
Mr.
Four Ways Farm. Dun, 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 dun. You know, Four Ways used to be farmlands. You know what I mean? It used to be
Mr.
farmlands.
Chinwag,
Yeah. Timothy Treadle.
Yeah.
You remember? I'm Timothy Treadle. Da, 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 da. Boing. You know, so the North kids of today, Minamu, Minamu, then ka. You know what I mean? So
every day we play
in Pumpkin Patch. You know what I mean? So you see, like, I mean, we are 9 years apart, but the generation gap is not that big in terms of the content that we got to be exposed to, you know. But as soon as now DSTV became the thing, because I think we moved on to DSTV from 95, 96 from Mnet, you know, that's when the full satellite bouquet then became available. Then we got BET, Nickelodeon, you know, because there were Nickelodeon shows that used to play on KTV, but then you got the dedicated channel, you know what I mean? Cartoon Network, Ed and Eddie, Dexter's Laboratory. That was like another cartoon version of Family Matters for me. In fact, that was actually the closest thing, Dexter's Laboratory, because I was like this little nerd with an older sister, Didi.
and then Tina was subjected to Yo TV when you guys were on Kirio. Oh, sorry,
on KTV.
On KTV.
Well, my sister
and actually, people don't even know that McG is actually a child star, right? People don't know that McG was on Crazy.
Yeah, that's where I met him.
ETV back in the day.
I was a contestant.
So Crazy was a version of Kirio, which was on Mnet, right? But Crazy was on ETV.
Yeah.
And the
ETV
version,
came later. When
the SABC
2000?
version was the Yo TV. No, because every channel had its own kiddies
My
programming.
sister was a presenter on KTV.
Is it?
My sister was a model.
There was a lot of child stars.
House.
People don't know that Babimlo is a child star. Abo Saifo is a child star.
Yeah, he went to school with my sister.
Abo Risang, they're child stars. There's a lot of child stars, man. You know what I mean?
So knowing all these people, and seeing that lifestyle, like going to the Mnet studios for what's that show? They used to Slime Dunk or I forgot what it was called. My favorite show was Biker Mice from Mars. Anyway, Biker Mice from Mars. That was my favorite.
My favorite show was Dragon Ball Z.
What?
Dragon Ball Z, bro. Like for many years, even when I have been grown.
Yeah, but Dragon Ball Z was one of my favorites as well. But like, it's not like Dragon Ball Z came later. But yeah, it came later. So Mina, my tolerance for cartoons, video games ended at 12 years old. So which is 2002, which is about when I met you, when you were going to Chris's studio, you know, next door to my next door neighbor at home.
Chris Palmer.
Yeah. So now the environment that we've got, it's like it's very difficult to get people rooted back. And we've got so many options, man. Like, I just feel like the kids are being made stupid. You know, I mean, we watched Discovery Channel. We watched History Channel. Today, the kids watch Kai Cenat. You know what I mean?
Mr. Beast.
All like
academics. But is it Speed? What is Speed full name?
I Show Speed.
I Show Speed.
It's like, you know, the content that the young people are being exposed to.
Shout out to a local streamer, Maraza. I love what you're doing with the streaming, bro.
Yeah.
With the live streaming, that's dope.
Which
I think
Maraza
you're ahead of the game.
I know.
The hip hop rapper, yeah.
Oh, Maraza, yeah.
Our,
that's Maraza,
our
yeah.
local Maraza, yeah.
Yeah.
He's one of the first, if not, for me, the most dopest South African streamer currently.
Yeah.
You must check his streams on TikTok. He actually streams on all his platforms.
Yeah. I don't.
He streams daily.
I still don't do TikTok. I cannot. Like,
you have to, bro. Is that not you on TikTok? Nota's Wisdom.
No.
Guys, go to TikTok right now. Go check Nota's Wisdom. I thought it was you posting there.
Nota's Wisdom was suspended, but they brought it back. It's
How do you know? If
the
it was
return of
suspended?
Nota. I know.
How do you know? Because it stopped posting when you were inside.
It didn't.
And then ever since you've been outside,
it's
been posting.
I got into trouble.
Guys, go check out on TikTok right now.
It's on Instagram.
Nota's Wisdom. No, it's on both. It's on both.
It's called The Return of Nota on TikTok. I know.
Yeah,
the guy who runs it.
both pages are run by you. I've been suspecting.
Trust me, there was no Nota's Wisdom posting. Like, Nota's Wisdom, dog, if you see, they've
So on
upgraded,
TikTok, it's Nota's Wisdom, ne? And then on Instagram is the Return of Nota.
No. On TikTok, it's the
Nota's
Return of
Wisdom.
Nota.
I know. No.
Go
TikTok
to
is
the
Nota's
Return of
Wisdom.
Nota. Go to the Return of Nota there on TikTok. You'll see.
Let me start with Nota's Wisdom. There's Nota's.
That's on Instagram. Yeah, that's on Instagram.
How do you know that Nota's Nota?
No, Pella, like it's.
No,
one
here
of
it
my
is.
fan
Nota's
pages.
Wisdom. It's on 100,000 followers. Yes.
Is it back?
You didn't even know, my man. You've got 112,000 followers on
How
TikTok.
many likes?
It's called Nota's dot wisdom.
Oh, how many likes?
It's got 1.6 million likes,
1.6
and it follows no one. And it's got 112,000 followers, bro. Oh yeah, it says it's banned.
Yeah.
And then let me look for.
You see, it's the Return of
You
Nota.
see, it's you. How do you know? So you also have got the Return of Nota on TikTok.
It's the Return. I guess the one was banned, so it had to come back. You
So is it you posting there?
No, I don't have time for that, guys.
So who's posting on your behalf?
It's one of my fans, dog. You know what I mean? It's like Sabo Andrew Tate, so yeah, bon. You know,
Look,
Andrew
it's got
Tate-
6,600 followers,
Already.
and it follows no one.
Exactly.
But why the editing looks like the same one?
It's upgraded
Nota's
now.
Wisdom.
It's better.
But why was the Nota's Wisdom account banned?
I don't know. Oh yes, because we spoke about Jay-Z. We spoke about Jay-Z being targeted by UMG.
These are some of the things that these pages.
Why is Nomzamo not dropping a gin?
Yeah, that's what it
Nomzamo
was.
would rather
Kiss babies.
go on a free flight.
Yeah.
She's not getting paid and
Yeah.
go and kiss dirty babies in Malawi.
That's the truth.
Bakubhelele zona lezi.
Yeah, I know.
Hold on. Let's hear.
It's unbelievable.
It's you and Altido here.
I won't lie. I look at those babies, I'm like, dude, they can't pay me to do what Nomzamo's doing, dog. I swear, dog. If there's a dirty baby somewhere, trust me.
Ah, come on, you're hating on Sis Nomzamo.
I'm
bro.
not hating. I'm praising her.
Oh, okay. She's dope.
I'm not gonna kiss the dirty
Oh,
baby.
I love her.
She
She's
is.
dope.
That's what I'm saying. Is that
Let's
she-
check out another one. Let's hear this one.
Mother's got no respect for your dad. Like, she disrespects him. And the reason why she disrespects him is because in 2008, the Zimbabwean economy crashed, and then your father was unable to provide for your family because the money in his pocket shrank on his walk to go and buy bread. So he could afford the bread when he left his house. By the time he got to the shop, he couldn't.
He's mad. That's called hyperinflation.
Sorry, let me skip that one.
I think education is important.
Nota on dropping out of
My
university.
sister's got a PhD and 2 master's degrees.
Oh,
Yeah.
but that is not you. What do you think
So
about
it's
that?
still my dad's school fees. Still our family wealth. That knowledge contributes to who the Balois.
100%.
So whether it's me or my sister
Yeah.
that's getting, the work done on our father's behalf, because it's his sperm.
Yo, let's go to another one.
It's so bad, right?
Really?
Shane Eagle is so bad,
Yeah.
right? That he had a beef with Keenan.
Yeah.
Keenan wrote and recorded an entire diss track to Shane Eagle. It's one of the most amazing songs Keenan has ever done. No one's ever heard it. Well, people who know Keenan very well have heard it. Yeah. It's still on his laptop, you know what I mean? And he showed his dick.
MacBook.
And 25, he showed his dick.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Once you have to resort to porn as a nigga, it's like a girl that has to resort to showing her tits. You lose the respectability politics. Respect is the most important thing.
What do you mean he showed his dick?
He did a dick print thing. He had a hard on and then he took a picture of himself.
You remember that, nah? You understand?
He's out of 25K.
Yeah.
Bad.
On
better
Twitter.
than Casper.
Hold on.
Yeah. He's
So
out of
hold on.
25K. Bad but better than Casper.
Better than Casper.
Yeah.
That's with me and King
I
Omar.
rated with 25K. I used to listen to him and everything else, right? I listened to his stuff, but I felt like the style was very similar. There was no growth.
Yeah.
And then I listened to Tato Soul.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck it up. This is the kid that is rapping what 25K is trying to do. Tato Soul's got the command of the Setswana Spedi or whatever language that they speak.
He's out of prison. Oh, NOTA's out of prison.
Yeah. That's Emtee.
Should have kept him in there long. Safa as a nation.
Yeah, that's it. Why would I post that? If it's me.
Ha. Did he just say Builinja? Ah, come on, MT.
No, relax.
Should have kept him in there long. Safa as a nation. Builinja.
He's just trolling.
yeah.
Don't worry. I don't take it personal.
Yeah, Picasso, I would never want to waste jail on anybody. For real.
Me, I wish he on NOTA.
Ah,
I wish he.
no, it's trolling, man.
He's trolling.
Do things like this hurt you?
Nah. He can't hurt me. He's clean now. You understand? Umboni like back to the seat. Because Skun Ganjan.
What you want? No, MT.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, really
Because
proud of him.
Skun. And it has been Skun for 5 months now.
That's
Since
really
back to the
beautiful.
city.
That's beautiful.
You know, you saw his performance.
Yeah.
He had energy. Angish.
Nah, but I think it's trolling. I wouldn't wish prison on anyone, man.
No, that's why I responded. I was like, I wouldn't wish prison on anyone, especially someone who's dealt with some sort of addiction. That's the worst place to be because the prisons are not rehab centers. You know what I mean? People were calling me crazy when I said to Penwell, when I had a dope conversation with Penwell. I don't know if it was a dope conversation, but we were having a debate, but a very friendly debate. He has with Penwell and he disappointed me that day. Bengitsi, you know, it's been lit. No, we were supposed to debate.
Oh, yeah?
I came
And
there for a
then?
debate. Penwell, no, he's just being soft. I'm like, people are not here. People didn't sign up for this.
Okay.
People came to see flames. Now, but in the comments, people are like, but for you, there's no shit debate. Like, say something, man. Now, NOTA, now, man. Yeah, I know. So no, but we had a nice friendly debate. But I was telling him that in my cell there were 70 of us and only 14 of us were South Africans. And now it's coming out into the news that there's a lot of prisons where the foreigners outnumber the locals, and then 4.07 billion is spent per year on what you call on
South African prisoners.
no on foreign prisoners.
So let me give you the actual figures that I know as per mid last year.
Yeah.
South Africa spends 484 rands per prisoner per day,
Among.
and this is according to statistics.
No. That's
out
what
there.
they charge.
And
here.
there are currently 156,600
Yeah.
prisoners in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
If you multiply that figure with the 484 rands per day, no, but it's the figures that are out there.
No, but also when you go to prison, but
South African taxpayer, the South African taxpayer spends 75 million per day on prisoners. That's over 20
Hayi,
billion.
siyabonga,
That's
bafethu.
over 20 billion per annum.
Hayi, siyabonga. As amabhantiti siyabonga. Hayi, no thanks.
And where does that money go to? So that money goes to different things, from the clothing to the food that the inmates eat, etc. That's why when I kept on visiting you, I also started finding out or asking questions around who supplies energy drinks in prisons, because I saw that you inmates
Yeah, we're
consume a
Switch.
lot of energy drinks.
Yeah, switch. Yo.
And then I'm not in that space. And then I found out like all these other brands are killing it in prisons. And then I'm like, wow, so industrial prison complex makes so many companies rich and wealthy that the South African taxpayer is not aware of that they're actually spending 75 million rands daily on a majority of that money going to all these international companies. And obviously one company that benefited out of that for many years was Bosasa.
Yeah, no, obviously Bosasa benefited, but G4S benefits as well. The same company that collects our cash. And remember, in 2023, before I left for the States, we had this discussion about the prisoners that get let out, about the private prisons and how much money they make. I mean, I think the Bosasa prisons, they bill just each prison, each facility around 45 million per month to keep it running, you know, and that's the contracts the G4S prisons. So that's the prison in Venda and the one in Mangaung, which is right next to the Department of Correctional Services its own. So there's a government prison and a privately owned, a privately ran government prison right next door to one another in Mangaung, and those are the high security prisons, you know, maximum security prisons. That's where the most violent criminals are kept for the majority of their sentences before they get released into medium and lower security facilities as they get rehabilitated, you know. But I wouldn't call the prisons rehabilitation centers. It's impossible for them to rehabilitate people. You know, I had a traumatic experience, and I told you about it when you visited me, about the guy who was punching the concrete, you know, because the guy that goes around giving everyone who's suffering from mental health issues their medication was 10 minutes late. This man was standing at the wall, right, up until a certain point in time, and like, this guy's going through a mental health issue, but he knows the time. He doesn't have a watch, but he knows exactly what time it is. He knows the time that his medicine is supposed to be taken. And he started just punching the concrete on the floor, you know, injuring himself, you know. So I'm traumatized. I'm like, yo, why is he? Oh, he's waiting for his medicine. So I knew the guy that delivers medicine, but he was still busy dealing with someone else upstairs, and there was a little bit of a scuffle upstairs. So he was taming a situation. Ngambiza ngathi, hey ntwana, there's someone downstairs that needs their medication, and like, yo, damn it, he's gonna hurt himself. So already knew that this guy, when he doesn't get his medication on time, he starts hurting himself. It was just traumatic to see, because I'm like, this guy should not be here. Do you know what I mean? This is not me. I'm like, my mental faculties are well, so I can cope. You know, I've got everything that I need to be able to cope. It's not a holiday. It's not a vacation. You know, it's a very tough place to be in, especially with the overcrowding. Sun City is super overcrowded. Like I said, there were 70 of us in our cell, 22 beds, which means 48 people don't have a bed. There's more people without beds than those with a bed, you know. And they gave him his medicine. And even when the guy came with his medicine, when he saw him approaching with his medicine, he stood up, stopped punching the thing. And I'm like, yo, it's just like, I cannot even get that image out of my head. I still get nightmares about that, you know. And there's a lot of patients inside the Johannesburg Correctional Center, or which is known as Sun City, you know, and they're struggling. And I feel empathy for the wardens, because not all of them are psychiatrists or psychologists, you know what I mean? Not all of them have been trained medically. Their resources are strained. And just imagine, even if they had all the doctors that they needed, but now it's overcrowded. You understand? It's like going to Helen Joseph on on New Year's Day, you know, or going to Charlotte Maxeke on New Year's Day, you know that's the worst place you could be on New Year's Day, because everyone that was burnt by fireworks or fridges being thrown out of the balconies in Hillbrow, everyone that was traumatized by the celebrations and the drinking and driving, and everyone is there. It's packed. The nurses can't deal with it. The doctors can't deal with it. That's a medical facility. This is a prison. It's not a medical facility. But now when it's so overcrowded, and then you've got people who are dealing with mental health issues, who are not able to be catered to. They can't see the therapist as often enough. I mean, if there's one therapist, how many people is that therapist dealing with? How much time does that therapist have to assess each and every person's case or go through people's medical files and progress? There, you have to read every medical file. And also, mental health patients. I mean, I've been in a mental health facility under involuntary admission, Section 33. You know, so I know the process, and that was a private. That was life. You know what I mean? Not life as in a life sentence. Life as in the medical life healthcare, whatever it's called. You know. And by the way, they just got a windfall of money for some new innovation that got them $600 million. So
a British company bought a stake in their company.
Not an American?
British.
British.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
a UK
nice.
company.
Oh, okay, yeah,
They invested.
Yeah.
They punched in a couple of billions.
Yeah. You were opposite life with Dr. Kehlezi last week when you were shooting at 011.
Yeah.
So that environment, and knowing that our brothers, and obviously I was in the male prison, so I'm speaking about my brothers because those are the ones that I saw. I don't know how our sisters are doing on the other side. I mean, Joburg's correctional center has got two sides. So it's got the female section and the male section. The female section is not as overcrowded, but it is crowded as well. How are they dealing with the people that are dealing with mental health issues? And then you've also got hardened criminals. Or hardened offenders. Let's use that word, hardened offenders, that now need to also look out for the patients or the would-be patients. Those people should be in mental health facilities. They shouldn't be in the prison. And then you've got the prison wardens who are not trained but are now also traumatized. The things that they see every single day. Just imagine, they see things that they can't tell their children when they get home. You know what I mean? The prison warders, if their kids ask them, "Daddy, how was your day at work?" It was fine. It doesn't matter what he saw. He has to tell his kids it was fine, because his kids will never sleep if he tells them, "Okay, well, today I dealt with some guy who was trying to punch through concrete, another guy who was running into a brick wall. You know what I mean? Another guy who was trying to strangle someone with a bed sheet. Like the things that you are exposed to there. It's bad, man. It's bad. There's another kid, a North boy. Sadly, he was put in for shoplifting. Within a couple of weeks, he found himself on nyaupe and crack, or whatever they call it. I don't know the names of, but it's nyaupe, wunga, whatever the narcotics that are being taken.
Do they smoke inside?
Yes, there's cells where they are able to get stuff in. I mean, the stats have come out about the amount of narcotics that have been
seized inside.
Yeah, the amount of cell phones that were seized inside. You know what I mean? All those types of things.
So you can be an addict inside.
Yes.
As long as you got money to be able to feed your addiction.
Never mind an addict, you can be a dealer inside.
So they can't stop all of those things.
I mean, how are you going to stop
officials?
it? Because that's money. So are you going to pay the prison warders enough for them to all not be tempted? You know what I mean? The same prison warders that have Instagram and that see the grand scale of corruption being done by government officials, that see that bafethu nami ngene la, because obviously everyone is corrupt. I mean, from president having millions of rands worth of dollars in his sofa, to justice ministers who were previously mayors who have got corruption scandals, from robbing VBS Bank to, DA ministers who are committing tender corruption now, flouting the tender rules. The grand scale corruption. People talk about the Western Cape, how it's the best run, but Mark Liffman gets shot and killed. You know what I mean? By snipers. You know what I mean? And then it says in the headlines, crime boss Mark Liffman gets killed. So hold on, Mafetu. Crime boss, he's a crime boss. He's outside. He gets killed at a shopping mall. He'd be safer inside. There's no guns inside. You know what I mean? So a crime boss is now roaming the streets, That's what the newspapers are. They're not saying alleged crime boss. They're saying crime kingpin Mark Liffman assassinated. These are the news that we're getting while we're in prison. You know what I mean? So how are the prison warders supposed to be holier than thou if there's so much corruption happening at a grand scale everywhere? Obviously, one of the 10,000 prison warders that work within the Department of Correctional Services is all it takes to get whatever narcotics inside. It just takes one person to get them inside, and then they can be distributed all around. It's very easy to do that once one person can get them in. People can be bought. We're seeing that with cops that are not following up on investigations, people who've got multiple attempted murder cases or murder charges, that have been just sitting, dockets collecting dust, dockets disappearing, people being shot, witnesses being shot in front of Lenasia Magistrate Court, as they're about to testify, for crimes that are happening in El Dorado Park. There's so much corruption happening. So for anyone that is saying that, no, but how do drugs and how do cell phones and how do these things get inside the prisons? Guys, how do you jump red robots every morning? You know what I mean? Driving on the other side of oncoming traffic if you're a taxi driver. You know what I mean? All the criminality that is being done, all the law breaking that happens, obviously it's going to make its way into the place where law breakers are kept. You know what I mean? Those are the people that are the best in the business. Well, maybe not good enough to get away with it, but good enough to have that as a career. And they are all there. They're gathered. All the heist kings. If you take all the cash in transit heists, our Scheme GP, they talk about stories of heists. They did whatever heist. Now, when you put all of these heist guys inside one place, you put them all in one room, in one cell, for 18 hours a day. But Puma for 6 hours. What do you think are they discussing in that 18 hours? Their lives on the outside. What was their life on the outside? Doing heists. Do you understand? It becomes a university of criminality. The school of hard knocks. And so, like I was speaking about this North boy, he graduated into serious drug addiction. He already like lisamthumela imali. Nokufonela ole that yeah, ole ngicela i-2 yeah, unga-withdraw i-2 ejele. In fact, unga-withdraw i-10 cash contant ejele phakathi. It's crazy. But the craziest thing is that I think there was a video that was trending. So there are phones. There are people that have phones. I was under such watch. I was like, hey, there's no way I'm touching a phone. There were people that offered me a phone. Like, I'm Fandas Bambelina Nana nje. Like, at least
it's called the Nana.
Yeah, just
Popotai.
Yeah.
Kopitori lebitsa le popotai. Sure.
Phone le la ko time or something. I got time of time. I'm under watch.
For sure.
Already, like, if they catch me, all of you guys are in trouble. You understand what I'm saying? So rather let me be clean, so that way you guys can do whatever you want without me getting you guys into trouble.
What did that do to you though?
What do you mean?
Did you suffer any withdrawal symptoms, like not having your cell phone? Imagine
I was so happy.
NOTA not having a phone in his hand.
I was so happy.
And how long did you not have a phone in your hand?
The whole time.
Like how long was that?
I was there for 18 days.
For almost a month, bro. How did it feel like maybe the first week?
Yo, it was peaceful.
Is it?
It was peaceful. Like there were so many people. So now and it's so funny. There's so many fans of the Hustlers Corner. Like guys, you don't understand how the Hustlers Corner, just as a platform, you know that, and it's something that you actually started on your radio show. Well, it's something that you copied actually
From Kabzela. Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
actually, Agaseko. So we need to give him
Inspired
his
by the
credit.
Grootman, the legend.
You know what I mean? We need to give him his due credit. You know what I mean? So, but I listened to you because I was still too young to listen to Kabzela and Dreshni, like religious benganakar. You know what I mean? So listening to radio was something I did on my way to school and back. You know what I mean? We didn't just listen to radio; we'd rather watch TV. And Kabzela and Dreshni were on during the weekend. You know, so maybe I'd probably listen to them after soccer practice sometimes. But you'd always give shout outs.
No, Trent Kabzela used to be on Monday to Friday on the morning show. Kabzela, before he joined Dreshni, he was with Abu Kumza and all those funny guys on weekends.
Maybe
Anyway,
that was later.
It's those
But
memories.
he wasn't on
man.
the weekend. Okay, when was he on the weekend?
He started by being on the weekends before he went midday. Yeah.
Oh, before he went to midday. Yeah, but I caught him during the weekend.
Sort of
during-
weekday.
Oh, yeah. So I caught him when he was still
On
during
the
weekend.
weekends.
Yeah, before I moved.
calling prisoners, right?
Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? So you started doing that, you know, even on the Hustlers Corner, you started doing the shout outs. Nami, I'd also give shout outs. So the guys inside that have got access to YouTube or whatever, they are avid fans of the show. Avid
What
fans
about
of the
faith?
show.
What about faith? What about faith? What about faith? Sisonke.
You know what I mean? So like they looked out for me. You know what I mean? They're like, yo, shout out to you guys. You know what I mean? Like Nisenza Bantu, like you're reminding our family members, you know what I mean, to call us, to remember us. You know what I mean? All those types of things.
The importance of besuking, ne?
You know
Because
what I
then,
mean?
when I was there, then I'd waiting for the guys to get me in. Then I'd start chatting with the others. And I started finding out there's guys there who have not been besuked for years. There's people who don't have people who come visit them, bro.
Exactly.
And,
At all.
it means a lot to visit somebody who's an inmate, just to go show them some motivation or some love.
But I won't lie, man.
It's not nice.
Me, it hurts me.
Oh.
I won't lie. I didn't mind when you came. I didn't mind when my dad came. My dad was very like traumatized by the whole experience of having to besuk. But you know, my dad is my dad, so timer. So he's gonna be strong. He's not gonna show it. Hey, having to see my mother now, she has to press a button to talk to
my
me,
man.
and he only lamlit you.
Yeah, it hurt me too, man. Seeing you in orange gear was not nice. To tell you the truth, it was not nice. It hurt me.
Marumtsetse?
I could not jump in. It hurt.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but but I was ironing, I was
Hey,
taking
you were
care.
nice and fresh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was making.
And you're right. Every time when you're speaking, you're always just looking. I'm like, it's not like there's any threat, but just Jay.
Yeah,
being there
hey,
just teach you
hey,
to just-
yeah. You need to, yeah. I needed to watch out. Okay, Pala, you don't know who's who. You know what I mean? And you don't know who's in there for what. And over there, you're in an environment with people who come from your terrible prisons, guys. About Khosi Mampuru, about Kokstad. You know, in Kokstad in winter, you can't get water out the shower because the pipes freeze. You know what I mean? That's how bad it is. You know, so you have to wait for the pipes to thaw. So, Tina, at least in Sun City, the weather is good. I was showering at 4 in the morning. So I'd wake up at 4 in the morning and then check how far the line is. And I had my position in the line. I booked my position in the line. So by 4:30, I would have showered already. By 6, my ironing would have been done, you know. And I'm just waiting for 8 a.m. when the guards wake us up. I mean, I'd sleep maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Well, and also there's people who are dealing with traumas. You know, some offenders, some of their crimes still haunt them.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So
but look, so.
there's this other guy. You know, this is a very sad story. He ended up killing his ex-girlfriend and the mother of his child. And so when I get in there, he's like, "Hey man, why did you divorce your ex-wife?" And then I was like, "No, she divorced me." And then you just allowed her. And I was like, yeah. And then he says, which means you didn't love her. I was like, okay, I don't think so. He's like, yeah, no, your ex-wife used to look like my ex-wife. And I was like, oh. She's like, I used to have a picture of your ex-wife in my cell in Mangaung, in maximum security. I was like, what? Yeah, look, they look alike. And I was like, yeah, they look like twins. I'm like, they look nothing alike. But I'm like, I'm getting peace out there. I'm like, yo, he's on another level, dude. Man, one thing about 2 a.m. Night out. And I'm like, hey, the outlet. Say, he's trying to get into my head. He's trying to, and I was like, okay, let me not respond. You know,
Tibz with that time.
2 a.m. Because you're like, yo, mfana, outing have we come, you know what I mean? And you know no one's coming for you until 8 a.m. in the morning. So, you know, who knows who's going. So it's a really scary situation. But I mean, even with 2 hours sleep, I was able to, stay fresh. Yeah, 2 hours sleep was on a lucky day. Usually 1.5 hours sleep each and every single day. It was just tough to sleep. It's really tough to sleep because you don't know what could happen. You don't know. There was even a scuffle in my cell one of the days. You know, one of these young guys that I was trying to speak some sense into, but he's in the clever, and he's just like he's 24. Not 24. He's 10 years younger than me. He tells himself that, yeah, hey, when you laugh for 60 days, ne feather charge. Nya trial for a murder, baba. You know, that's the he ended up having a scuffle. And the scuffle was about nothing. Nothing. The scuffle was that he's in our cell, and our cell is a non-smoking cell with people who are doing life. People who've been there for 20 years, 15 years, 22 years, who are pushing up to 30 years, whatever, before any chance of parole. So those are people that they've been in jail for so long, they don't want any more trouble. They've seen all the trouble for years and years. They come from prisons where they tase you before and after you go to shower, he did the scuffle, and if you scuffle in our cell, that in C24, you get kicked out. Any fighting gets you kicked out. So because he was like, these guys are too strict. Abafuning peme, abafuning like so no, I'd rather go with the other guys where you can do whatever you want. You can smoke inside the cell, whatever. Ungayishisa cell mawufuna, ungashisa nescaffold. Phela iscaffold siyashisa because kunembungolo, and that's the only way to get rid of them. So just self-destructive patterns manifesting in young people, and it's heartbreaking because some people just don't want to be saved because they see themselves as people with no value. They don't get visitors, and it perpetuates itself in that abandonment. You know what I mean? So if you're gonna abandon me, I'll abandon myself. I'll abandon my humanity. I'll abandon my sensibility. I'll abandon my responsibility to be a civilized human being. And I'll be the monster that all of you are making me out to be because you've isolated me with this abandonment. It's just heartbreaking to be in that environment. You know what I mean? For someone like myself, because I internalize other people's pain. And it's something that I'm still learning how to just remove myself from a bit, but I can't help it. It's just not in my nature to see someone in a position where they're suffering and not do anything to assist in any way, shape, or form. So I was exposed to too many things that will traumatize me for the rest of my life. But
What were you in there for?
Contempt of court.
In what case? Which case was that?
This is about the AKA killing.
But which case? What did you say? Because you said a lot of things.
Yeah, but
And I know
either
over the
way,
past couple of years you've been dealing with a lot of cases. I don't know which one it is.
KO sent me to prison. That's what happened.
But how though?
That's it. He claimed in court papers that I said that he was involved in the killing of Keenan, which is not what I said, because I said that his brother was there. His brother's the road manager, and his brother should have ensured that Keenan gets home safe, because that's the job of a road manager, to make sure you get to and from your gigs safe. You've had road managers before. You know that's the job. You've been on the road before. You've had talents before. You've hired road managers before. You know what I mean? And it's an open shut case in terms of what we observed from the CCTV footage. Also, once you see something in the public and it becomes public, you can then speculate on it. So whatever they had to do, they paid judges, they paid sheriffs, they paid to get a ruling against me while I was in a mental facility, which means I could not attend court in the first place, right? So they got a default ruling, right? And when I was during my stint in Cape Town, remember I went on the run because I was like, hey, now these guys are chasing after me. Because after those things, these guys actually tried to have me killed. It was a real thing. When I was in the States, I was on a run for my life because these guys were trying to have me killed. I could not come back to South Africa until I had a guarantee that people involved in Keenan's murder were arrested. The first arrest happened in Cape Town. The second arrest happened in KZN. I got confirmation from people that I have inside. Like I've said before on this platform that, you know, there's people that I know that are inside. There's people that I visit. You know, there's people, you know, spesukile, ezonevater. You know what I mean? Together. You know what I mean? When are you've been besuking people for a long time. So, you know what I mean? It's not new to you. And, you know, I guess because of our criminalized lives as black men, you know, at some point in time, you're going to have someone to besuk in a prison, you know. So it's not an extraordinary thing. But because I found out that at Westville prison, they arrested one of the guys. Well, they arrested two guys at Westville prison. And one of the guys was tortured and confessed. And then before he got released, one of the guys was involved in the murder. And that's the guy that helped them secure the other guys that were in Swaziland, you know, because he went with a phone that was being tracked, and then that was then going to track all the other guys so that they could corner them and arrest them. So he was released for the purposes of helping get all the other guys and round them up, the guys that are being extradited back to South Africa. So one of those guys that was part of that extradition trial in Swaziland right now, he's the guy that confessed to everything. How it was planned, the whole entire thing, with the money, and then they were able to follow the paper trail. Also, we did an episode after Keenan's killing, and I spoke about, guys, if we look at how Keenan was killed, there's no way you can say that the people that were with him were not in on it, because it's revealed by the police. It's not me saying this now. It was me saying it 2 years ago. It's revealed by the police now, you know. And I mean, this episode is dropping 2 weeks prior to the anniversary of his passing on the 10th of February, 2023. So this is 2 years ago stuff, by the way. So the CCTV camera footage, like I said, Intwanayam goes via the VIP entrance at airport. You won't get a selfie with Keenan at airport. I said this on that episode that we shot on the day of his funeral. I said that I know that for sure. The fact that there's a picture of him at the airport with a fan shows me that he did not use the VIP entrance at airport, which means that whoever was tracking him needed to make sure that he's not using the VIP entrance. The only person who can convince him to not use the VIP entrance is his road manager. That's the person who maps out. On CCTV camera footage at the airport, King Shaka, he is pictured. Keenan is walking around by the car hire place, right? Before he picks up the hired vehicle, he's walking around with the guy who made the payments and distributed the money. The guy who's also captured on CCTV camera footage outside the Hilton Umhlanga, where he was staying. And we knew that he was staying at the Hilton Umhlanga because we know the pictures that are on the wall inside the gym. And he posted a story of himself inside the gym at Hilton Umhlanga, and we saw by the pictures on the wall, because we've stayed at Hilton Umhlanga, and we know those pictures because we've used the gym at Hilton Umhlanga, and that's why we're able to track that. You understand? The same guy is also pictured on CCTV camera footage at the restaurant at Wish. We've been to Florida Road. We've been to Wish, even when it was, I forgot, the Spigadeli. Remember when it used to be
remember
Spigadeli?
Spigadeli, yeah.
That's Wish now. You understand? So we know these areas. We know these places. So when Nota's speaking about all these things, and he also knows each and every single human being that's in that thing, and also the fact that Tibz as movements in Durban were told to me on the Wednesday when I was watching movies at Hyde Park, because at New Metro it's cheaper on Wednesdays to go to the movies, so that's why I go to the cinema on Wednesdays at Hyde Park. I bumped into Ayanda Mchacha, you know what I mean, who does Comedy Wednesdays, and he told me, yo, yeah, Abo Tibz, base Durban, base Mhlanga right now, I'm joining them, I'm on my way, you know what I mean. I bumped into him. So when I see Tibz is here, Tibz was supposed to be in Umhlanga. What was he doing on Florida Road? Okay, maybe he just went to eat. Oh, he was eating at the restaurant next door. When I see all of these things and I'm able to connect the dots, I'm able to say that there is no way in hell that Keenan's team was not involved. When I see the CCTV footage of my homie being killed, I'm seeing, I'm out. They're standing there in front of him. He gets shot in the head. Guys are waving. Guys are communicating with a guy who pulls out a gun and shoots as well from the other angle, the guy who actually shot and killed Tibz from that other angle, because that other guy shot and killed Keenan at point blank range. You know what I mean? Amateur hours, amateur Nkabis. Real Nkabis shoot you from far. Amateur Nkabis have to come right up to you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I could see all of that playing out, and I said, bro, you are and we did this episode with Penwell as well, subsequent to that. And I said, the same way I expect the people that were inside the house where Senzo Mewa was killed to speak about what actually happened, to be the ones that speak so that we can get justice. I expect the guys that were with Keenan to speak. They haven't spoken to this day, 2 years later. Nothing. If they were not guilty of something, they would be speaking freely. Why am I not allowed to speculate that they must be involved when I can see what's happening? It's CCTV footage. The whole entire country can see. And then I say something 2 years ago. When the trial starts, everything that I said, everything that's in the live videos and everything, when people said I was crazy, when I was sent to a mental institution, you sent me to a mental institution, you had guys with guns pick me up, take me to a mental institution, lock me behind a steel door, medicate me, try to drug me with schizophrenia medication, you know, for 72 hours. That's the situation that they had me under. You convinced my mothers that I was losing my mind just to cover up for the killing of someone I know personally. You've done so much. You've hurt me. And then you also want me to spend 60 days in prison. And even when we try to negotiate, we try to have these charges dropped. You say, what money amount of settlement do you want? They don't want to do that. They want me in prison. When I come out after serving that sentence, do you think I'm going to see you as a human being or as a monster? I'm going to see you as a monster. The lens that you're going to, if your brother is not involved in having Keenan killed, you wouldn't go to these lengths to have me, who wasn't even there, sit in prison for 60 days or sit in prison for 18 days and spend 42 days on parole. You wouldn't have me go through, I've just told you about how traumatic that 18 days was, all the things that I saw, all the things I was exposed to. Each and every single second that I was inside there, I was thinking of the people that put me there. There was not 1 second where I forgot who put me there. There's not one waking moment where I woke up and didn't remember that the reason why I'm not waking up in my own bed today is because of so-and-so. So, God is who I trust to avenge what has been done to me. And I've got no doubt that God will do what is necessary. So, vengeance is the Lord's. But as for the case, right now, more and more details are coming out. More and more arrests are going to be made. We are going to get justice. And just think about this. If something can happen to Ukinen Ntule, Sbuda, if something happens to you, what do you think I'm going to do? Nzotula food.
I don't expect you to keep quiet.
You understand what I'm saying? And there's no way I can keep quiet. Because then bangastata song. That's the way it is. Because siyatula ngisho. So anyone can be killed, anyone can be taken out, and that's the type of country that we're living in. The grand-scale corruption, the grand-scale violence that is just being allowed, that is just being normalized, Obviously, prison warders are going to take bribes and get drugs into prison if you guys are killing each other indiscriminately. You know what I mean? And nothing is happening about it. If Zamazamas can go into mines and demand whatever, and then you then tell those Zamazamas, hey, we're going to smoke you out. It's just the type of language. The same time you told miners in 2012 that, we want concomitant action. And then you shot at them. You understand what I'm saying? You're turning these cops into criminals. You know what I mean? You're turning these criminals into normal people, because if the police are doing criminality, then the ones that are doing criminality that are seen as criminals are doing what the cops are doing, what the law enforcers are doing, what the lawmakers are doing. The politicians, the ones who are parliamentarians, the ministers are breaking the law. So everyone's breaking the law. It's a free-for-all. South Africa is a criminal enterprise. It's been a criminal enterprise from day one. You know? When you came to visit me when I was still in New York, remember what I said about New York? I said everything you're laying your eyes on, Das Buddha, was paid for by our ancestors. The Cape Colony, to this day, has produced the most gold ever. Ever. That gold built the United States. That gold paid for British colonialism. That gold paid for World War I. That gold paid for World War II. This is our heritage. It comes from our land. Everything that they use to pay for the bullets that they're using to subjugate people, to colonize people, comes from our land. So basically, you're going to rape and pillage our resources and then use them to oppress people on a grand scale globally. You're going to steal from us, and what you've stolen from us is like, I steal your car, I hijack your car, I sell that car, and then the money that I use it to buy guns to do a war in another country. So I'm making you a criminal. Because now your car is being used for what? For a war in another country, right? That's exactly what's happening. So the level of criminality and our acceptance of it as well is something that scares me. And I made a decision. I said, whether it costs me my life or not, I will not be silent, because it's someone else's child. I cannot be silent because it's someone else's child. I cannot be silent because intwana yekhalat, because that was also the expectation of my family when they were like really concerned about my life. They're like, yo, okay, we need to get you out of this country, for lempinchako yekhalat. You know what I mean? And they weren't saying that with malice, but they're like, he's not even one of us. You know what I mean? Forget a family member. He's not even one of us. Like, why do you care so much about this friend of yours? You know what I mean? And also, the criminalization of black and brown people. So coloureds are also seen as gangsters and thugs. So when they say Intwana Colored, he's like, yeah, Bambulele, but it's probably because he's involved in some sort of gangsterism. Isn't he from Cape Town or something? That's the assumption, Angish, that we have, that, oh no, all the people from the Cape Flats, from Mitchell's Plain must be gangsters, because that's what we're shown in the media. That's what we see in the media. When you see a famous coloured person, it's because they are a Rashid Stahi or something. You know what I mean? You're not seeing Keenan Forbes when you think of prominent coloured people before there's Keenan Forbes. You know what I mean? Before there's Jonathan Butler. Before there's Tyler. You know what I mean? Those are the people that you think of. Johnny Mongrel. You know what I mean? The most famous coloured people are criminals, right? The most famous black people are criminals. You know what I mean? When I say the name Ananias Mate, you don't need to think. You know exactly who that is. You know what I mean? Moses Itole, you know exactly who that is. And I mean, Jonathan Plaikis, you know exactly who that is. I was actually in the same section with Jonathan Plaikis. He's serving, I think, 23 life sentences. You know? You know, it's traumatizing, because you need to think that for a second that I might be serving with people who might infect my mind with thoughts that will endanger you as someone who sends me to prison. I'm in prison with people who are telling me that when I get out of this prison, these are the 3 people that I'm going to eliminate by name. And I know those 3 people, because it just so happens I tell the guy a story. I like, my dad works in such and such a place. Yeah, he's friends with so and so and so and so and so and so. And now this guy is telling me that, I'm going to kill your dad's friends as soon as I get out of here. I've been here for 22 years. I'm coming out in 3. First thing I'm going to do is eliminate those people. They put me here. Now I'm thinking to myself, damn, this trauma that I'm experiencing for this 18 days, this 60 days of trauma that I have to do, because then I have to do 42 days of parole after that, am I now supposed to now accept the offer from this guy who's like, 5,000 ngamsusa. There's a guy in prison who's coming out in 8 months. It's like, mfana, they know obviously the story. They see the TikToks, they see everything. They know what happened. They're like, mfana, singamsusa lo muntu. 5 steen nje. Ngai 5 steen mfana, singamsusa mfana. I mean, I can do that. This is someone I'm meeting inside prison. I need to tell him, dog, I walk with God. I don't mete out revenge myself. I mean, God is the one that's going to take care of anything for me. That's the environment that you're putting this person in. You're endangering yourself, all because you don't want to tell the truth, all because you don't want to bring justice, all because you don't want people to have peace, all because you're not a God-fearing person. You don't fear God. There's no way you fear God and then you don't think that there's karmic energy, karmic retribution coming from the things that you've been participating in, the things that you've been shielding. You know, my cousin is inside there, Tutugo Shoba. He killed my niece. He had my niece killed. You understand? His girlfriend was pregnant with what should have been his daughter, what should have been my niece. And he had her hanged in a tree because she was pregnant and he was getting married to someone. You understand what I'm saying? That's traumatic. Imagine I'm in Sun City. I know my cousin is also in here and I don't want to see him because of what he's done. He killed my niece. Forget that he's my cousin. He had my niece killed. You know what I mean? You know, and what our families went through. When we found out about the story, when we found out that he was accused, when he went on trial, my mother's like, no, I would never do something like this. And then you find out the truth, and then it's revealed to you, and it's like, wow. And I was like, Ma, I told you, please, let's just wait, because what I'm hearing about the evidence that they've got cell phone records, they've got what, you know what I mean? They've got all these things. And he was arrested because apparently the person who killed this child, I forgot, her name is Tsehofat, so I forgot the surname. But, you know, I feel so terribly for her family as well, you know. Feel so terribly for her family as well. But she was carrying my family, you know. So we all lost. We've all lost in that instance, in that situation. And it's deep because our country is just losing its way. You know, there's less and less opportunity. And I've said this before. One day, people are going to realize that there's more TVs inside the complex than there are at macro. Inside that high fence that you're inside, Igule estate, there's more TVs inside that estate ready to be stolen than inside macro. And the only reason that you're safe is because when they come and break in, it's 2-3 guys. When it's a mob of 100 people, you think Night Guard is going to save you? Do you think ADT is going to save you? When it's a mob. You saw what happened to the factories in KZN when they were mobbed. The security guards had to just watch. You know, the policemen had to be cameramen now. Just say, hey, we'll catch them later. Let's just get them on camera and then we'll identify them and then sobaland. That's how they dealt with that situation. And this country is on the brink of some sort of revolution like that, a riot like that. We've already seen it, July 2021. So it can happen again in the blink of an eye. And then it was just a moment of anger, and then it was incited, and then it sparked a fire. So, you know, do you know how many Keenan fans are in prison? I mean, forget outside of prison, inside. How many people have got laptops where they've downloaded his music videos where they play them on repeat? You know what I mean? Hit after 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 hit. You know? So it just so happens that whatever happened outside to get you inside prison, there's a rule inside prison that we don't bring outside matters inside and we don't bring inside matters outside, right? So It's not dealt with like that. But I mean, yeah, to be thrown to the dogs like that, you might catch fleas. You might end up scratching yourself like a dog as well. And that's something I had to be really headstrong to avoid. I had to be really headstrong. My mother is like, I was arguing with my mother because she was, what was she talking about? She missaid something. And I said, oh no, we were arguing. And I was like, no, that's in the book of Joshua. So my mother says, "Upikisa mina ngeBhayibheli." Then I was like, "Oh, ma, what do you mean by that?" She's like, I'm so proud of you." I'm like, okay, it's a good thing. I'm like, I read the Bible. You know what I mean? Don't see me and think that this person is not someone who fears God, who doesn't know the word of God. There's no intelligent person that doesn't know God. If you don't know God, you're unintelligent. You're stupid. Because if you don't understand that the way life is, the complexity, and the way things are engineered in such a way that certain specifications of certain things make it impossible if it's not done in exactly that fashion, which means that everything is by design. Intelligent, intentional design. That's what God is. This everything is by design. The fact that you are XY chromosome, that makes you male. Fact that a woman is XX chromosome, which means that she cannot decide a gender. All of that is by design for a specific reason, to show us the order that God has placed us in. God, man, women, and children. In that order. And once you disrupt that order, the type of chaos that you unleash by wanting to play God, by thinking that if you get your side chick pregnant, the best way to deal with her is pay inkabi to take her out so that you can marry the girl that you feel is better for your economic situation. Like the choice that my cousin made, which landed him up in prison right now. You know what I mean? That's playing God. So anyone that feels like they can disrupt the order is deciding to play God. And we're seeing the results of playing God. We're seeing it. And the amount of evil that children are exposed to each and every single day. The kids are listening when you're watching the news and hearing about the evil that's happening inside the world. And they're just thinking to themselves, oh, this is an evil world. And also, you are also not allowing your kids to just walk around. They can't run around in the neighborhood. You've imprisoned your own children. They don't grow up the same way I grew up. Meaning for always I know each and every single street because I used to be able to walk everywhere. I used to be able to ride my bicycle any and everywhere. It was that safe back then. The kids of today, they don't have that experience. Each and every single child needs to be monitored. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? There was no nanny following me each and every single where I went. When I learned how to catch fish in the river, when I learned how to kill birds with a blow dart, there's no nanny that was following me. You know what I mean? When I was teaching my little brother how to make bombs, there was no nanny that was watching us. So we were learning and experiencing life and learning right from wrong and learning the lessons that we needed to learn. The kids of today are not learning all of those things. And they're sheltered in such a bubble that can only create degenerate children. So we cannot be surprised when we hear about the strange and funny and heinous things that children are getting up to these days, because that's the type of environment that we've created for them. And that's the type of environment that we're encouraging for them. If we've taken God out of the schools. When I was in high school in Rauco, I remember each and every single year there used to be this other company. I forgot what it is, but it was an Afrikaner company. And they used to give us those small Bibles. That small Bible, I couldn't wait to get to high school because my sister also, she had that small Bible from when she was in high school. It was a small pocket Bible that they used to distribute at schools. You know, they used to come, how many of you guys are Christian? Okay, fine. Even if you're not Christian, there's nothing wrong with having the Bible. You know what I mean? You can read the Bible, you can read the Quran. There's nothing in the Bible that says that the Quran is evil. There's nothing in the Quran that says that the Bible is evil. You know what I mean? We've got Jesus Christ in the Bible. We've got Jesus Christ in the Quran. And then you've got the Talmud, which says Jesus Christ is burning and rotting in feces. Which is the Zionist doctrine, the Talmud, which says that there's superior races to us who are either Christian or Muslim. And then you've got babies being bombed in Gaza, hospitals being bombed in Gaza. You've got such evil and such atrocities playing themselves out. And the rest of the world just continues. You know what I mean? Yes, 10,000 babies got bombed in Gaza, but you're worried about the petrol price. So are you not part of the normalization of this evil? Because things like that are happening. And you know what's the worst thing about it? Babies are dying in Tibz as well. How many babies are being aborted in Tibz illegal abortion clinics? Because when you are driving through Tibz, at every single traffic light that you stop at, there's some illegal abortion clinic that's being advertised there. There's a phone number there. Safe abortions. Illegal, but safe abortions being offered. What are you telling your black children? That we can dispose of you. Your child is very smart. Your daughter is very smart. Maybe smarter than you were at her age in advancing. So when you take her to Gogo, you think she's not able to read and see that babies are disposable? Do you know what I mean? So then when she sees a black child, is she not seeing something that's disposable as well? Because that's what she's seeing the whole way, on her way. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. If you go to town, you need to shield her and make sure that her eyes are closed. She's got blinkers on her eyes, because all of these evils that are just happening are there. The same way there's adults being abandoned. It's like abortion after birth, when you abandon your brothers and sisters in the prisons when they're languishing there, and you're not visiting them or anything of the sort. You know what I mean? That's the same thing. You're abandoning. You're stripping them of their humanity. You're stripping them of their need for love. You are a human being, so you need love. You need an embrace. You need a hug. You came to visit me in prison. You couldn't hug me. You had to see me through the glass. You had to you touched the glass. When's that? I can't feel your hand through that glass, but you needed that embrace as well. So you put your hand there. I needed that as well. But, truth be told, we're not in contact with one another. There's a thick glass. But the need for just some sort of, you are seeing me, you can see me, but you still want, and you need more. You needed more. And then there's a time limit as well. They have to chase you away. You know what I mean? But what was important within that 3 weeks that I was there, or 2.5 weeks that I was there, is that each and every single weekend I had visitors. What that said to my other fellow inmates is that this guy is loved. This guy is cared for. The fact that he's here is making everyone that loves him so unhappy that they cannot just sit there and continue with their lives. How long did it take you to get inside the prison to visit me?
Jeez, it took long. The first time I came, I couldn't see you, because they said you just come there. And when you just come there, one can't just show up anytime and come and see you. You have to make appointment first. Mm-hmm. And even on the day when you do make appointment, they pick us up in a bus that drives to that medium that you're in. And when you get there as well, there are no cell phones that are allowed. None of those things are allowed. You're even leaving your ID at the door. And then you walk in. When you walk in there, you sit in that waiting room, waiting your turn. Because they keep on calling the others. So you can get in there and I can see you 3 hours later from the entrance at the gate. Or I can come in from the gate and see you 2 hours later. but it's not an immediate thing. It's never less than an hour. And unless one is very fortunate, Uguti, the person you're coming to see, you might see them as one of the first people, but that'll still take you almost an hour.
I'm sorry for having put you through that. I had no
No,
idea.
no, bro. I'm just happy that you're outside, and I just hope that you're okay, and I want you to be mentally better. I'm really sorry that you had to go through that experience. It wasn't nice to see in that orange uniform. And just a year before then, we had visited other inmates together, remember? And for me to see you in those clothes, it's like, you can never know what may happen. And also, one thinks of all the kids that look up to you. All the millions of viewers that have been watching our content all these years. You can also sense the pain and the hurt, Yeah, so I'm really sorry that you had to go through that, but as uingane kaNkulunkulu, do find it in your heart to forgive.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that was the first choice that I needed to make while I was inside. You can't forget though, but you have to decide to forgive. You have to decide that, listen, I'm going to leave this in God's hands. And I'm alive. I'm able to breathe each and every single day. That's the first thing I'd say when I wake up in the morning. I say, God, I'm alive. Again. Another day, I'm alive. Another day, I'm alive. And I was happy about that. And my life matters. And human life matters. Those miners that were underground, whether they're foreigners, illegal immigrants, or whatever the case may be, their lives matter. And if you say that they must be slaughtered like animals, they must be hanging like sheep or whatever like that, that shows that you lack humanity, you lack a fear of God. It doesn't matter what someone has done. You don't get to be God. You don't get to be the one that decides whether they deserve life or not. You don't get to be the one that decides what it is that is their karmic retribution for any offenses that they've done. Whatever they felt Keenan did, no one deserves to be the one that says, okay, we're going to take him out or we're going to end his life. And we spoke about this in our previous episodes, like most recently, and I was saying, I can feel the energy of my country. We're not well. The way in which people wish the worst on people is something that I cannot, I cannot just be quiet about it and condone it, because that lack of humanity, when I see another human being, I'm afraid as well. Before I engage with them, I'm afraid how do they see me? Do they see me as someone that if I can die, it's like, oh, they can have a party? You know what I mean? Or do they see me as a human being who deserves life, who deserves empathy, who deserves mercy from God? You know what I mean? Who deserves a better life? When I see that the way in which we talk about our brothers as well, our brothers, the way we talk about one another as well. I was listening to Touch on radio, Izolo, and he was talking about this new Big Zulu and Azana song, and I just feel like we put too much negative energy, especially on black men. We know how much we're going through. We know what we're going through. We don't need to dehumanize black men any more than they've already been. You know what I mean? We're the bottom of the food chain as black men, but we're the strongest. Look at any construction site. Who are the builders there? Look at any great thing that's being developed right now. Who are the people that are putting sweat equity into that? It's black men. So we're a useful tool. We're the horse in animal farm. That's what black men are in this world. You know what I mean? All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. And the big pigs, the kingpins, the ones that are benefiting from miners doing what they're doing the nomsanene, doing the zamazama, the ones that are benefiting from that, izamazama izokuseta man. Those ones that are benefiting are quiet, while all these politicians are saying whatever it is. They're having a scrambling match about who can moralize more than the other. When we're talking about our land and everything that belongs to us, and how it's being stripped away from us, and how our humanity is being stripped away from us by the indignity which we call black existence and black life right now. You know what I mean? it makes you forget about frivolous things, about how people see North Boys or Amachi's boy or all these things, and say, guys, let's look at ourselves in the mirror as individuals each and every single day and promise to make a positive contribution to the this country's essence. The criminality cannot be our spirituality.
Criminality cannot be our spirituality. I think let's end it there for today. Welcome back. I missed you. It's good to see you.
Thank you. And shout out to Tsepo. I see he's got you dripped out.
Yeah, always, man. Always proud of Mtsepana. But I'm happy you're out. Let's
thank
record
you.
some episodes. Let's do some work. There's a lot of work to be done.
Let's do some good work.
Are you excited for the new year? Are you excited for the new NOTA? Maybe for lack of a better word, so to speak.
I won't lie, I'm dreading this year. I know things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. But you know what? We've got life. And the fact that we've got life means that we've got an opportunity to make things less worse than they're getting. And, it can't go down forever. At some point, it has to bottom out. And we will bounce back. We will rise again. But as we are descending right now, let's awaken as many people as possible, because we'll need them when we get out of these doldrums that we're in right now.
NOTA Baloyi, Ntlamule Baloyi is back, and he has confirmed that he is not the one that is running those Instagram and TikTok accounts. The return of NOTA and NOTA's wisdom.
Yeah.
I still refuse to believe him, but welcome back, bro. Thank
It's
you.
my brother from PMB, guy. It's my brother from PMB. A shout out to Oluetu. Shout out. You're doing a good job. And hopefully TikTok, please monetize African creators, because Oluetu needs to get paid for the wonderful work that he's been doing. He's been doing it while I was in prison. He's been keeping my memory alive. You know what I mean? Reminding people to come and visit me. I saw on TikTok and I said, I know Melon Ninja.
I'm glad NOTA got a chance to be bottling, and then starting from next week, we'll start having other topics and a whole lot of other things. There's so much to speak about. But today we just had to give him his chance to just bottle for the first time and welcome him back home. Voila. I'll see you guys on the next video. Danko.